Welcome to the Wild Ones podcast by Good Day Cork. My name is Joanna Dukipati and I am your host for this episode. I am the founder of Good Day Cork, and the Wild Ones podcast features the guest speakers of the Wild Ones Salon, a place for women and non-binary people from all backgrounds to gather and smash stereotypes. This episode is special because we had an in-person Wild Ones Salon after having to meet online twice last year, COVID and all. We met in Maureen's bar in Cork City Centre and hosted the first in-person Wild Ones Salon in aid of Cork-based charity Serves Flip Flop Appeal. The Flip Flop Appeal support women and young people living in vulnerable communities to lead a dignified life through skills training and entrepreneurship opportunities. The values of the appeal align so well with the values of the Wild Ones Salon in that both help empower people. We invited two past SERV volunteers as guest speakers who have so many stereotypes to smash. First up is Soyjaudah, who is currently studying public policy and diplomacy at UCC. Bhooshita speaks about challenging the question, where do you come from? Bhooshita explains this by sharing personal experience from the impact of this question.
Anyways, I'm Bhooshita. So, as Joe said, I'm studying UCC, International Public Policy Diplomacy. It's a very tough course, but before I get there, this is only started this year, I'll tell the background. So, I was actually originally from Mauritius, if you don't know where that is, an island in the middle of an Indian Ocean, where the dodo's from. If you know that. And beside Madagascar, because people really don't know where Mauritius is. It's a very, very tiny island. I was only born there and then left there at 9 months old. So I moved to India for nearly 6 years. So I lived in 3 different regions. So I lived in 2 regions in the south of India, so Visakhapatnam and Hyderabad. Then I moved to Mumbai. And then after that, I moved to South Africa for 4 years. And then back to Mauritius because recession hit. So the background to that is my dad used to work in the diamond industry, so he's a diamond cutter. So wherever his company takes him, he just relocates. So we just go along with him. It's actually eye-opening, like at a young age, seeing everything in different countries, culture-wise, language-wise, because I absolutely love languages, and I learned the different areas, all the languages there. And it was really good to interact with everything, see, because I think that's what a child needs to see, like from the eyes from a very young age, see everything around them, the surroundings, everything. And that's what's made me nowadays like fortunate to what I have at the moment. Then after South Africa, we moved back to Mauritius in 2005. Then what happened was the recession hit in South Africa, so my dad lost his job there. So then for going back to Mauritius, I never went to school there. All the schools there was French speaking, and English is my first language, but for my whole family it could either be French or Creole or Hindi is the first language. So then I had to like cope with everything learning in French, so that I had to be placed in a private school. Then I wasn't really coping that well because of just everything there. So then immigration opened in Ireland. So my parents were like, okay, let's just take, I have an older brother as well, and he was doing leaving cert there. He's 7 years older, so he just stayed there just because of his leaving cert. But then we moved to Ireland in 2006. So I came here September 29, 2006, and I was only 10. So it was kind of like, it wasn't really a shock to my system because I was kind of used to seeing everything. I was like, great, English speaking, this is amazing, that's what I wanted to see. And I can actually relate to people. Then from there, the thing is, everyone thought like, I'm going to go in very deep here. So everyone, because I was brown, like they always just saw as Indian, so I never really took into consideration at 10 years old, like, oh, I'm not going to correct them, there's no point, like I don't see the point in repeating myself. Then over the years, like in when I went to secondary school, I lived in Dublin for like 8 years, so that's why I did my primary and secondary school. And the thing was, what shocked me was in 6th year, the people I've been in since first year, like I was friends with everyone, like I just got along, I was in a cliquey school, so they didn't know where I was actually from. They thought I was from India. But the whole 6 years I was there, that's what shocked me. And then when they said that, oh, wait. And then it's like, where are you actually from? I was like, Mauritius, because we had to do like a whole thing for 6, I don't know what it was, with prefects and all. We had to do like loads of stuff with them. I don't know what it was. I can't remember, as far back in 2015. So then I was like, oh, wait, this is great. But the reason why I never really disclosed why I was from Mauritius, because I think there was this, I think everyone knows the murder that happened in Mauritius, the Michaela McCreevy murder. So I just did not want to, like, it's good. In a way, in my head, my mom was like, if maybe it's just better we just don't say where we're actually from. Because there was in loads of attacks in Dublin to Mauritian people. That's where most Mauritian people lived. So we just kind of stayed away from it. I just really not said, because I didn't want to be bullied. I didn't want to be anything like that, be told. Like, we weren't there, so we don't know exactly know what happened. We just don't know anything. So then when I came to Cork in, 20 June, after my leaving cert in July 2015, moved to West Cork. This is even worse. To Clonakilty, and in that town, everyone just stared at you like, they were like, what the? And then I felt like I was in a museum, and like I was like, why are you staring at me? Then I got a job in a cafe in, it's called Arish. It's a very popular one in Clonakilty Bank, smack in the middle of the square. And every single person I came across was, where are you from? I always say, that's my challenge. So that's what my challenge is with CERB. So where are you from? Then I always say Dublin. I don't want to give you context about anything. And then they're like, no, where are you originally from? And I'm like, Dublin. Like, no, where are your parents from? And I'm like, oh my God. And I was like, Mauritius. Then automatically, I know in my head, the next question, the third question, the fourth question. Basically, I'm telling this total stranger my life story. So why should I be telling them my life story? Why? What is it to you? Like, I'm the first generation, like, Mauritian, like, immigrant in Ireland. So why should I be telling you any of this? It doesn't make sense to me. Like, I don't ask you where you're from, why here. I don't go into it. Just take the country and just move on with it. Then followed that, like, why do you leave such a nice sunny country? And I am like, it came in my head. I'm like, then why did you tell your like ancestors why they left Ireland? You don't see me question you about that. So then I was like, oh geez, I just said that I just lived abroad. I just had my parents' job. Everything to me always felt like an excuse. And I think over time, as soon as I got older and older, it just affected me in a way. I'm like, why should I be telling anyone, a stranger, my life story? That is not something I should be telling you. You basically know everything about me. And then they're like, then the accent, and they're going like, oh, your accent's very neutral. And then I'm like, what do you expect? And like, oh, I just expecting like an Indian or like accent. I'm like, this is just stereotyping me. Like, I don't have I actually have a neutral. I can turn into like a Cork accent. This depends on the day. It depends on my mood. If I talk to my mom, I have a very strong French accent, and Sinead can contest to that. Like, I can have a very strong like going into it, but like I just couldn't. And then it came to like in going to UCC then. So my journey there took a while longer than it should have been. Like, I should have been finished like on my undergrad in like 2018 and 19, the same as my other friends, but I didn't. It's just that it was hard to like, it stopped me from paying international fees. It's just with immigration, it was a bit crazy. So that's another story. But I got there. I graduated last year in November, and my undergrad was BA in Chinese and Asian Studies. So I really love languages. But yeah. Yeah, that's all I have to say. What languages I have. And then I decided that I would like to do a course. Like, I didn't know like what masters to do. That is between international relations and an international public policy and diplomacy. So then I got accepted into both, and I was weighing my decision, like which one module-wise, what do I see myself into. Then I picked the course I'm in right now. And the reason why is because I want to help migrant children, integration, asylum seekers, refugees. That's the main focus of mine. I want to make a change in Ireland for people who do not know their rights, for people like who just came as a country, like they don't know what to do, like in dire provision, how they live in. Like, I just, because of what I went through in this immigration system, which is very, very bad right now, I want to help them and let them know what's going on with them. Because it's sad to see a child grow up in a system So basically that's my thesis, by the way, my master's thesis is about the integration of migrant children. So yeah, that's what I want to challenge, is like, where you're from. Just be careful on how you phrase that question, because it does affect a person. You can maybe just ask I think the most nicest way to say, like, so are you first generation in Ireland, or where your parents are from? Just don't question, keep on going on and on about this, because for all they could know, I could say I was Irish, but then they will really ask, like, what's the word? They'll go at me about it, like, really, you're Irish? Like, anyone can be Irish.
I moved to Cork from India about 10 years ago, and I can't thank Bhooshita enough for sharing a personal reflection to challenge the question, where are you from? Now you'll hear from Jeanie Jyanti, owner of Alchemy School of Yoga. Jeanie generously shares personal experiences, and in doing so, I learned that she has challenged the normative ways of being every step of the way.
Okay, hello. I'm Jeanie, and actually almost completely opposite to Bhooshita. I am from Cork. I've lived in Cork. I'm pure Cork. My auntie recently did some family tree, and I think I'm about 5 generations on both sides Cork. So it's a lot of Cork. Pure, through and through, exactly. However, I've had the privilege of travelling a lot, and yeah, it just kind of struck me when you were chatting, you know, what a privilege it is to have grown up in Cork. And I said to you earlier, I love this city. I had to go away from it to realise why I loved it. But from a really young age, I remember my mom saying, she was so supportive of me, but I think she was like, oh my God, what is this child I'm raising? Because my sister was quite, maybe obedient is a good word. Whereas I was like, no, I'm not doing that, you know? And I used to always challenge things like, no, I'll do it this way. This is a much better way of doing it. And I think when I was about 7, she asked me what I wanted to be. And I told her I wanted to be a ballet dancer and join the Peace Corps. And I had something else, I can't remember what it was. And she was like, a ballet dancer in the Peace Corps? Okay, great, whatever. But I think from a really young age, I loved being different. And I don't mean for the sake of being different. It took me a while to figure out that it wasn't just about challenging the stereotype for the sake of it. It was like, God, that's a really stupid way of doing it. Not stupid, that's the wrong word. That way doesn't suit me. Mm-hmm. Actually, this way makes way more sense. Why has nobody thought about this way? And again, I think that's such a privilege to have had that innately, you know, in me, that drive to challenge things. In the middle of that, the teenage years came, and then it's like all about being accepted, you know. And I definitely did the conforming thing and I'm going to act like this because I'll be accepted, and I'm going to say these things because that's what you're supposed to say. And I'm sure everyone here can relate to being a product of the, you know, be a good girl and don't cause trouble, and, you know, don't cause controversy and say that thing even though you want to say that other thing because da-da-da-da. So that was definitely there for a while, and I definitely got lost in that. And I'm trying to think where to even go from here. But yeah, I definitely always had that drive of paving my own pathway. And I was always fascinated in learning how things worked, like why, so that I could then use that information to decide where I wanted to go. And I was always fascinated by science. And I studied chemistry in UCC, and again had a huge privilege of coming from actually a kind of a mixed socioeconomic household, in that my dad is like working class inner Cork city, and my mom was from Douglas, from a very stable middle class, financially stable family, but both of them really valued education and hard work. So we were, even though money was a bit tight when we were growing up, like we didn't have an option of not going to university or third level, I should say, in Cork. It wasn't an option to pay for us to go elsewhere, but I think we're blessed in Cork with all the different third levels that we have. So anyway, exactly. I also attended some of those, yeah. So I studied chemistry because I was just really interested in it. And about 2.5 years in, they kept talking about like, and when you get a job in a pharmaceutical company, and I was like, oh, I don't want to do that. And all my classmates were like, why did you study this? And I was like, oh, I don't know, I never thought about it. It was just that I was interested in chemistry. So I decided halfway through my degree that I had no intention of ever working in a pharmaceutical company, ever. And that I was going to be a dancer. Back to my dancing, I've always been interested in movement and the artisticness of that. And worked a lot in the dance club, with the dance club in UCC. And decided then to go to Stefan Nefa after my degree to study dance, a diploma in dance, purely for the interest in it. I think like I travelled with Serve, and I'd been to India with Suez, who are another Irish charity, and didn't want to do the year travelling that people were doing after their degree, so decided to do a diploma in dance. And I was 23 and had just finished my degree, and most other people were 17 and were like wanting to make it on Broadway, and it was just pure enjoyment. It was so beautiful to study something for the sake of enjoyment. And unfortunately, during that year, pretty close to me graduating from the diploma in dance, my mom got really sick and actually passed away. So that was a really, really challenging year. And again, I just still had this drive to not let that stop me, even though it would be a half an hour if I went into this, different financial reasons. Myself and my sister had to raise my brother and pay a mortgage, so I had no choice but to go and work in the pharmaceutical industry, which I actually really enjoyed, which I hated saying. I hated saying it. And I was like, oh, actually, this isn't that bad. And I did it, and I really enjoyed it. And about 5 years in, I was getting itchy again, and I was like, and I remember my boss coming to me, and she was like, Jean, we're really happy with your work, and we've kind of earmarked you for management, and we're going to, work you up quickly through the ranks. And I was sweating, being like, how can I get out of this? And like, I know that all of my colleagues were praying for that opportunity. And then I started feeling guilty, and I was like, oh God. And then as many good stories start, during that 5th year in there, I was in Reardon's, which I'm ashamed to say. And no, I'm not. And long story short, locked eyes with this guy across the bar and started a whirlwind romance, which 2 years later found me married, living in Germany with him, having a great time. We had a great few years together. And my friends were shocked because they were like, Jean, I thought you'd never get married. Like, I was that person who was like, you don't have to get married to be successful. And if that is your choice, you can get married and be successful too. But I was never that person who wanted the, 2.4 children and the 3-bed semi-D and the dog. Some of those things I definitely want, but I knew I didn't have to go down that route. So I think my friends were really surprised, and I probably surprised myself as well. And yeah, we had a beautiful relationship, but about 4 years in, we were like, what are we doing? We're really young. We're not really getting on. Been through counselling, we were like, we're so young and we're together because we have a piece of paper that says we should stay together. So we decided to split up, and still very good friends and very amicable breakup. We actually shared a solicitor for the divorce, which I'm very proud to say. And the solicitor kept saying, this isn't normal and you need to seek your own legal advice. I was like, I trust him, it's fine, we're fine. And that put me back in Cork because I had travelled for a good few years with him. And I had done my yoga teacher training in this time, I should say. I'd always been fascinated by movement. Little did they know the pharmaceutical company gave us free yoga classes at lunchtime, which was one of the main reasons I left. I left and became a yoga teacher. And finally thought, oh my God, here's something that has movement with meaning and can help people. So when I moved back to Cork after we split up, I decided, okay, now I'm going to make something of this. And I set up my own yoga business here. I hate saying the word business, but it's true. That's definitely my own internalized, what's the word? Judgment of, what were you going to say?
We were saying anti-capitalist.
Yeah, exactly. Stop stealing my words. But I've slowly learned that actually I feel money in the right hands can actually do a huge amount of work. And I slowly started to realise that you can be successful, we were just talking about success, in business and not be a dick. That's what I've learned. And that you can provide a really good service and inspire people and employ people actually and give them stability and an income. But interestingly enough, my challenging the way things are done continued, and people were like, you can't do that. Like, why are you should run your business like this other successful yoga studio. And I was like, no, I'm going to do it this way. Thanks very much. And so even in business, I definitely noticed I've continued with that. And I'm actually really grateful for you for asking me to be here, because I never would have maybe articulated it in that way, that I was challenging the way things go. So thank you for that. And I remember last year we decided to close for the whole of January, which in the fitness, yoga isn't fitness, but let's just say that, people were like, what, like that's your busiest time of the year? And I was like, we're burnt out from COVID. People we're teaching shit classes. I was like, we don't want to teach, people don't want to come. And I just remember getting a flood of emails from other yoga teachers around Ireland who were like, thank you. I wanted to close, but I didn't think I was allowed to close. And you've inspired me to not work. And, so I'm very passionate about not going against the status quo just because, for the sake of it, but because if it aligns with you and what you want to do. And to kind of go back to the travelling around or being from Cork thing, as much as a privilege to have grown up here, it's also often a microcosm of, a container where everyone knows everyone and like, oh, you can't do that. Like, you have to do it this way. And there's definitely been times, all right, where I've noticed I've acted differently outside of Cork or even Ireland than I have here. But I think I'm definitely getting more and more comfortable with being more me. There's also recently been lots of different changes for me as well, that I started to challenge. Lockdown was, horrific at times, but so interesting as well with the amount of space and thought-provoking, when everything you used to do is being challenged, actually. I had so many different ways and time to actually explore who actually am I. I think I definitely attached a huge part to my identity to I am the yoga teacher from Alchemy School of Yoga, or all of these things, and then suddenly all that's taken away. It's like, oh God, who am I? And I think I'm fortunate, but it was a challenge in lockdown to adore what I do. And then so it's not just a business, it's my passion. And I feel like my, what we call in yoga, your dharma, your purpose, your reason for being here. When that's taken away, then I was literally stripped bare, and I was like, okay, who the fuck am I? I also curse. And I joke with my friends that I think I'm the only yoga teacher in Cork who doesn't have my nose pierced and has no tattoos. No, there's nothing wrong with it. But now I really want to get my nose pierced. I'm like, I can't. I'm the yoga teacher who doesn't have her nose pierced. No, I'm sure there's other ones. I'm sure.
Our women's studies class went for a group
nose piercing. I love it. So yeah, when I was trying to figure out who I was, I remember sitting with a really good friend of mine. There's 9 of us from school who are all really good friends, and we still are. And I'm 37. They're between 37 and 38. And at the time, I was quite happily single, actually. But I was also a bit like, oh, it's lockdown. And, we're kind of getting into the 9th month now of it. And anyway, we were chatting and we were just a bit despondent at the people we'd been meeting online or like out and about. And I just said to her, I was like, Catherine, I can name 100 women that I think are amazing and who are doing the work and da da da. And then I just sat there and I was like, oh my God, maybe I fancy, I was like, maybe I'm bisexual. And she's like, what? She's like, you've always loved men. I was like, that's the definition of bisexual. I was like, that you love men, but you also love women. And I remember just being like, holy shit. And it was this huge moment for me, but I kind of did nothing about it. And then anyway, we decided that night after a bottle of wine to sign up to this new dating site. And you had the option, thank you, modern times, of picking men, women, or everyone. And I just remember my hand going, oh my God. And this is very vulnerable for me to say, but like, I don't feel like I was closeted and had kept this a secret for ages. I think my best friend in the whole entire world is a lesbian, and I never identified with that or her. Like, I love her and love everything she does, but suddenly I was like, it genuinely didn't cross my mind that I had this choice or I could challenge the way things were. So recently that's been a huge new beautiful exploration with me. And I have a beautiful partner now, Clodagh, who would also consider herself queer or bisexual. And that's been a gorgeous exploration that we've been on together. And then just to go even deeper into that, I also had met someone who told me that they were ethically non-monogamous or polyamorous, and I was like, in Ireland? Because I had met someone in America years ago, and the minute they said it to me, I was like, that makes perfect sense to me. But I was like, you could never do that in Cork, because I could just be your cousin, and you couldn't do it. And they were like, yeah, there's this whole community. And so that's been another huge like exploration for me recently of like, you don't have to be the way that 90 whatever % of the community or your community are. And actually, by and large, they're all pretending too. That's my theory. Not all pretending, but they might not have explored it to that level also. So that's been a really, you kind of think you're finished challenging everything, and then you're like, oh no, God, I've been thinking this way for so long, and actually what if it was like this way? And there's been many times as well, I should say, where I did challenge the way I was doing something or thinking and was like, nope, back to that other way. I actually really liked that way. It doesn't always have to be that this big change. It could be, oh no, I tried that, no, that's not for me at all. Actually, I was very happy doing this. So yeah, they're the challenges. I don't know, was that what you wanted me to talk about? Who knows? Come back next year, we'll see how I'm doing.
Isn't that plenty food for thought? Thank you, Jeanie, for your kindness and grace. Well, that's it, my dear wild ones. Hope you enjoyed this podcast, feel nourished and empowered. And please, please, please share it with friends far and wide. Take care and stay wild.